I think Thor 1 and 2 are fun fish out of water films. In the first film, Thor is on Earth telling everybody to get him a dang horse.
I need a horse!
And the second one is a fish out of water story where Jane is on Asgard. I could talk about the horse thing for a whole video. Like, did they evolve independently into horses on both planets purely as a mathematical coincidence?
I need a horse!
Thor 1 and 2 are fine. They're fine. They're fine. Thor Ragnarok is a film that throws the baby out with the bathwater, a metaphor that appears to come from a time where water was a thing people would throw out instead of, draining it. TLDR, I think Thor Ragnarok is genius in about 100 ways that don't seem to come up in conversation that often. Also, words are stupid. Credits! Wait, I'm sorry. It's not cool to stop the credits like that. I can't leave this alone. Throw the baby out with the bathwater, a phrase whose earliest use was from 1512 in Germany, a time when people literally threw bathwater into the fields. Das Kind mit dem Bada astuten. Hence, when you go to throw the water out, make sure there's not a baby in it. A thing people in 1512 needed a reminder on. Okay, credits for real this time. Thor Ragnarok is a 2017 film directed by Taika Waititi. Is it hot in here? With writing credits going to Eric Pearson, Craig Kyle, and Christopher Yost. God, I missed this part. Pearson had really only worked on Agent Carter up to this point. Kyle had mostly done Marvel special features and video games up to this point. And Yost is known for Star Wars Rebels and a bunch of special feature-y Marvel stuff going on. And Taika said in an interview with MTV News,
I would say we improvised probably 80% of the film, or ad-libbed, or just threw in stuff.
Jogging on. As a director, Waititi is known for What We Do in the Shadows and a film I went nuts for, Hunt for the Wilder People. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it because your day will be joyous and your clothes will smell like you are blissfully wading through a secluded lagoon. Nope, sorry, I started reading the copy for Downey's Ultra Downy Infusions TM Botanical Mist 50 Shades of Fabric Softener. I just dunked on Downey, what? Hashtag content. Obviously, this video has an imperious title. Thor Ragnarok is the perfect reboot. People tweeted at me things ranging from nice all the way to be indelicate, some real potty launchers. Some people were upset because they dislike how silly it is, but that's a touch of a shortfall because that isn't all it is. It's also a film where Thor experiences a character arc that has more weight than all of his previous MCU film appearances. A powerful one where he goes through the arc of realizing, coming to terms with, and ultimately becoming a literal god. Sexy deification. Which meant that Thor fundamentally overcame his central character flaw present in all of the previous times Thor showed up, and that is self-awareness. Thor was finally responsible for his own thoughts and actions and not just a punchline. Yeah, like that. I think Thor Ragnarok is the perfect reboot for a lot of reasons. How would other YouTubers tackle this? Well, how many do I have? 7? Okay, this is the top 7 reasons Thor Ragnarok is the trillest, reboot of all time. Smash that subscribe button. What? And hey, have you tried Blue Apron? Number 1. Up front, I already said I like the first 2 Thor movies. They're fine. They are, however, retconned out of existence within the first 15 minutes of Thor Ragnarok. Or at least Thor 2 is. I don't know about Thor 1, but as Taika said,
that really was us saying to the audience,
that's how we view that.
Goodbye to that.
Yeah.
Now.
In fact, it's designed so you don't think about it too much. Thor is now the fun franchise and taking some of the weight off Shakespearean comic Norse god drama for half a tick to blast off in the direction of radical Chris Foss art. That's the artist from Yodorovsky's Dune, by the way. And thank you to Hazel Hayes, great channel by the way, for unearthing that beautiful factoid by getting Taika inebriated at 11 in the morning.
It was the trend at the time, and probably still is just like, desaturated, superhero movies, a lot of handheld camera work and stuff. Basically, look at the other two films that had come before.
Yeah.
And then forget about them.
YouTube is amazing. This is all, of course, delivered in a Matt Damon cameo. Oops, that's the wrong movie. Take two. This is all, of course, dang, that's the wrong movie too. This is all of Jesus Christ, Matt Damon, gain some chill. Anyway, Matt Damon shows up in the film, doesn't super deal with the fact that Loki kind of died in Thor 2. Well, pretend died, but was actually impersonating Odin in a sinister, unforgivable way. And since this movie sets out to bring fun back to the equation, it shrugs it off and has Thor be like, lol, nice goof, Loki bro. Instead of spending an hour dealing with the emotional baggage that comes with familial characters that routinely betray every ounce of trust they generally fail to earn, this film is entirely different, and Loki is an ingredient that's honestly worth keeping around. Even if you sort of have to upset the cliffhanger from the last movie to get us to an area I like to call fun. The other fun. Can you stop this? It can. No? Well, moving on. One of the major things this movie does is decide on what characters it wants to keep around and which of the Warriors 3 won't be sticking. Jesus Christ! Okay, so they're gone. To recap, Loki, yes. Warriors, nope. Heimdall, yes. Odin, nah. Add Hulk, add Valkyrie, add Dor, Korg, and Meek. It's Thor, leaner, keener, greener. Ain't nothing but a G-thing, baby. This film does a lot of work to make Thor something that a general audience at large is going to want to see in a way that the Norse OC doesn't really satisfy. Pushing tone aside for a moment, Thor Ragnarok changes what Thor movies are about in a way that challenges our main character in a way that he generally isn't or hasn't been. He is stripped of title, friends, power, weapon, freedom, everything. Also, his entire kingdom. It practically table flips the entire franchise in a way that totally works because it also alters number 2. I'm gonna do my best here to say this in a single coherent thought. Taika Waititi correctly assumed that both comic book movies at large, in addition to the Thor franchise, needed a tonal reboot by way of a 1980s neo-future through the lens of modern as hell special effects. It's not just funny, it's a visual grand slam unlike anything you've ever seen before. It also packs this emotional punch. A god needs to know what it's like to be a human before they're ready to be a god. Damn son, you just got dunked on. Philosophy? I give this movie infinite credit for making me care about Thor as a person, not a punchline. He goes through a lot. Hell, he loses an eye because his sister likes metaphors too much.
Even a blind man could see it.
This is somehow all done through the lens of a full and unrepentant commitment to the aforementioned 1980s neo-future, and being the funniest movie Marvel has ever made. I will see Thor movies forever because of this. In fact, piss off, Ghost! Is my favorite line to quote. It rebooted Thor narratively first, tonally second, and Marvel positioning third. Aha! This is how brilliant this movie is. You know how in my last video I talked about how much care Marvel has to take to fit their universe together? How it requires constant repositioning. Well, Thor and Guardians of the Galaxy both take place in space, but there's a fair tonal distance between them. At least there was. Now Thor and Guardians can coexist for space adventures without the audience getting whiplash. And it was the highest grossing Thor film by a cool 115 million. For Marvel films, for total earnings, it's ranked right behind the original Guardians of the Galaxy and Iron Man. Which tells me this was a pretty successful plan, because let's be honest, Thor is so B-team in the MCU, the only other character jealous of his fame was Hawkeye, got him. I can only imagine every person who saw this plan on paper was like,
Piss off, Ghost!
it makes too much sense now, but I bet this was not universally understood behind the scenes, and kudos to them for going for it. This was a gamble that paid off huge. Which brings me to number 3. I bet I can do this in one sentence. One sentence that describes the difficulty of what was accomplished here. Okay, deep breath. Thor Ragnarok is a single film and a popular franchise itself, a part of a much larger branded franchise that managed to reboot its own narrative and tone without changing actors or affecting the larger cinematic world at large. This should have shaken the fabric of the MCU, but it didn't. I'm a proponent of judging films on the merits of their art just as much as I love judging them on the merits of what they managed to accomplish. I call it the perfect reboot because it accomplishes like 5 things by merely existing. From a business perspective, this was a grand slam that landed in some fool's Denny's grand slam in the parking lot adjacent to the stadium. Who else would even attempt something so brazen, like step even a toe out on Star Wars tone and you wake up in the Twitter Hunger Games? I have a soft spot for films like this, films that by every theoretical metric shouldn't exist, because no focus group is ever gonna lead you here. It takes an adventurous studio and a hungry director. And you can tell Taika is hungry because he wears shirts with fruit on them all the time. Filmmaking, to me, is an art form worthy of praise as much as I'm here for the sport of it. It's a great film, but the accomplishment of its very existence is the gold medal to me. How is this real? I mean, Marvel releases this like, oh yeah, man, that's pretty cool. Oh, when you're done with that, you wanna come check this out? Back to back. Number 4. It's sort of an expected move in the Marvel playbook at this point. What's with the spooky music? Okay, we're gonna go with it. You know the move. The music is really distracting. Thank you. Oh, come on! I'm using it. I don't even care. I'm gonna use it. You know the move. Captain America practically invented it. Just Avengers it. Take a single character, create a team around them of fun and interesting people, punch all the things, repeat. They did a lot, like Hulk is a person now with thoughts and feelings, not Bruce, Hulk. You know what's amazing? This is what Hulk's midlife crisis looks like. He sods off from a relationship with Black Widow. In Age of Ultron, Crash lands on an alien planet where he lives his life in the body of his monstrous alter ego, fighting in gladiatorial combat to avoid dealing with his feelings. Oh my god, is Hulk the best character in this movie? Or is it Valkyrie, someone who used to serve and protect Asgard, but her entire order was wiped out, save for her, and now she drinks to forget basically her existence. She has the greatest reason in the universe never to fight again, but you know, she still does. Or Thor? I adore that filmmakers are starting to wake up to the fact that Chris Hemsworth has some Odin-blessed comedic timing, and the new hair, can I just say, it's a good look. Like, Thor was kind of uncool, but real simply, just cut your hair and already be composed of a cavalcade of beautiful sculpted muscles, and you know, you're hot. Both things. You need both of them. Toss in Loki, Korg, Meek. It's less an Avengers and more of just a good ensemble comedy. Here's a thought. This movie is composed of the people that no other filmmakers really wanted to push storylines for in their movies. Thor and Hulk don't get arcs in Avengers movies. They were just there. I mean, Bruce's storyline in Avengers is, I'm mad all the time. Cool. Like, Avengers never really dealt with the fact that Thor's brother, Loki, tried to murder and enslave the human race in equal parts, but none of it was ever dealt with. But this movie does. It deals with the fundamental question of Thor and Loki as few films do, and I intend to get into that in a moment, but first, did I mention that this movie stars number 5? Number 5 is just Jeff Goldblum. That's all. Sorry. Classic Jeff. Number 6. I've bloviated uncontrollably about how many things this film does right a few times. It does a lot for a film character that doesn't have as many fans as some of the splashier heroes. Hawkeye! Got him. I can't help but be impressed by this. I think part of the reason is this is a super surprising film to me. Not in the traditional sense where, oh no, Snape ate Dumbledore like a pizza. Is that what happened? But in the sense that the entire approach appears on the surface to be baffling, while in reality it makes perfect sense. This makes sense from every single angle after the fact. Going into this, I doubt it made sense from any angle, especially how in editing I'm sure they had to find the film when all was said and done, because gentle reminder, Waititi did say they improvised 80% of it, though it gets a little tricky here. Disney released the script for this movie, the one by Pearson, Kyle, and Yost, and while it's clear that a staggering number of these jokes existed in the script, and if you're the first scene it doesn't quite work on paper in the way it does in practice, but it's hard to say that 80% of it was changed. The beats for sure, Hela being a secret sister with a god complex. Is it a god complex if you're already a god? That's really just God believing in himself. My initial instinct was to throw this all at Waititi's pineappled feet, but I don't actually think that's really fair. There's a lot of people to congratulate for this movie, like Javier Aguirre Sorobi, the DP on this magical little film, who has so many IMDb credits. I mean, look at this, which includes The Others, a film I absolutely adore, or the costume design by Maze C. Rubio, who also did the costumes for this little Avatar, or how the music was done by, Okay, so Mark Mothersbaugh did the music for this movie, and now I feel like a real idiot for not knowing that until I just looked it up, but hey, got some Devo in it. A lot of people did incredibly great work here. Again, I cannot believe this is real. Think about how terrifying this was for everyone leading up to its release. This took some big Warriors 3 murdering risks. I mean, Zach Levy is in this movie for all of that much. That was literally 100% of his screen time. It's an amazing accomplishment for all involved, and I'll leave it at that. And for the final top 7 reasons Thor Ragnarok is the chillest reboot of all time, smash that subscribe button. And hey, have you tried Blue Apron? I want to talk about family. Number 7. Everyone has a family. Sure, they can hate every single thing about each other, but still pull their swords out in exactly the same way. Some things, they're easy to spot, like a brother acting in the thing within the thing, opposite Matt Damon, opposite Loki, opposite Thor. Like there's meta, and then there's that. A real family representing a fake family inside of a second fake family that the first fake family was imitating. I hate to dethrone Last Action Hero, but that's meta level Turbo Baller. And families don't always get along. It took a third sibling to make Loki trust Thor and people in general. It helps that she was a hellchild bent on world subservience to her, but it helped make Loki a rounded person instead of the caricature he was. Loki will double-cross you. That's the story every time. But what if this time he learned and thought, okay, we're sticking to it this time. This time, the idiot moron shitweasel gets to save the day, and he does save the day. I don't know why this affects me so much. It's powerful in the shadow of the previous films and other movie appearances. Loki is the idiot moron shitweasel every time. And it took the silly movie to get everyone to be like, hey, maybe give him a chance. Okay, here's the thing about Loki. Loki is the son of a man Odin killed, who was then raised by his own father's actual murderer in the shadow of a literal god. Gosh, I think I might be an asshole too. Or Hela, the child that proves Odin raised 33% not villainous children. Bang up job, Hop. I'm not extrapolating too much here, but he's a terrible dad. hella made Loki a good guy, and props to Cate Blanchett for being face-meltingly great in this role. Utterly perfect comic book villain, just camp to the nines with a side of fries. But back to Loki, because I can't shake this. This is honestly a topic that stuck with me ever since the theater. This is the only movie to redeem Loki. I cannot shake that thought. This is unquestionably a movie whose message is lighten up. It's all in good fun, and I love it, and I hear you, but you broke me. Film. Loki has, unquestionably to me, the shittiest backstory in the entire MCU. I relate to him because I feel like him, fate has made some unfortunate decisions that have been a bit physically prohibitive in my own life. It's not the same story as Loki, and I know he's fictional, but sometimes we just pick out the weird shit and cling to it. So the silly movie that kicks ghosts in the wall made me feel a very real thing. Huh. Oh, hello. Fancy meeting you here. Question, are you watching Cinema Wins? You should be. In fact, I linked to the channel and an episode in the doobly-doo below. We teamed up this week, me and Lee over at Cinema Wins. We both did episodes on Thor Ragnarok. Lee Dome, Iris Fox, Ryan Schaefer, Glenn White. I'm just trying to get all the names in here I can. Mark Luksh, my favorite name to say. Here's a thought. I set out a few years ago to start talking positively about movies instead of dunking on them all the time. Like, somehow we forgot this was an art form or something, and that art has, depth, layers, nuance, and generally way more to think about than just watching something once and picking it apart like a Lunchables. I celebrate what Cinema Wins is doing. The Baby Driver episode is my favorite. It's staggering. There is so much information crammed into this one. It pointed out things that I had not noticed and made me love that film way more than I already did. And if you've ever watched my show, I'm pretty sure you knew that I love that film so much. Chris Hinosa, Pat Rothfuss, Tom Lynch, Thomas McCoy, Victoria Studley, John McGarity, Stephen Lazaro, Brad Leclerc. And I don't slouch on Edgar Wright films. It's just that good. Carlin Kendrick, Charles Barker, Waffle Upagus. Man, I'm seeing some names I've been seeing for a long time. Thank you all much for your continued support. Please tweet me on, what's the app? Twitter? At MikeyFace on Twitter. Am I saying? You got it? Girish Menon's gonna do it. You should too. Joseph Cabo, I don't know, like a butt or something. Please like this video, subscribe to this channel, ring that bell if you're new here. Do both of those things, subscribe and ring, sub ring. I'm trying to combine it into a cool thing. It's really not working. Maybe Richard Scott or Adam Thomas or Trey Warren, Ray Johnson, Patrick Mahoney, Brad Hunziker, Flora Split, Sean Boyce, maybe one of them can help me. Walrus. I just like saying your name. It's fun. Cinema Wins rules. Check it out. I love that stuff. Trust me, the Baby Driver episode is gonna be like, that's what Mikey would have done. And you're not wrong. It's basically just a top to bottom pointing out every little thing Edgar put into that film. And I adore it, and I love it, and I love you all. And I will see you next time. Probably for real this time I'm gonna take 3 weeks instead of 2. I'm such a liar! Subscribe. Bye. Perfect length.